Propaganda, a subject widely understood through the general education of Nazism in World War II, and the way that the Nazis used posters, speeches, and other forms of media to spread their harmful rhetoric. Now, in hindsight, we understand that this rhetoric was being pushed for a very sinister reason, but for that community and for that time period, this method truly worked. Now, that tells us that there is some psychology behind the usage of propaganda. So how did this turn into this? Well, in today's video, I will be breaking down how and why propaganda is transforming through the usage of social media. Before I can help you understand that topic, we have to take a look at social media as a whole. Many people have a misconception that extremist groups are only targeting people through the dark web. But to understand this topic, we have to understand that there are three parts of the internet. There is the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. The surface web is the applications that we use on a daily basis. This includes things such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, the Washington Post, the New York Times. These are all part of the surface web. The deep web makes up about 90% of all the activity on the internet. It is mainly made up of private domains that are owned by companies and their information. The deep web, much like the dark web, is only accessible through specific web browsers, and you have to have specific requests to even look at them. And a lot of us understand that the dark web is a lot more dangerous than the surface web. It's important to use protection when you go onto sites on the dark web because your information is not as protected as it is on the surface. Or is it? Today I'm going to tell you that you're not. You are not protected on the surface web. Now let's go back and examine the dangers of the surface web. We are given the illusion of safety, but in reality, our data is being sold. We are the product. Every time you log onto the internet and browse the web, that data is being added to your digital footprint. When you click on a website and without thinking hit accept all cookies, you are giving that website permission to use your data. This data is going to be used to push you specific ads, specific videos, specific content, all based on what you've shown through your data that you're interested in.
Do you think that data collection is a factor in who is targeted by these extremist groups?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that sort of, that we don't know the mysteries of of AI, right? But machine learning is an incredibly powerful tool that can be sort of moved in many directions, and that and AI is only as good as the data that goes into it. So if you get bad data, right, you get really bad results. And I think that's I think the machine learning people are going to have to take a lot of responsibility to sort of protect the data that goes in. So yeah, that like people who sort of understand how to accumulate, right, sort of the data and then target people. There's a lot of data out there.
By this point, you're probably thinking, Faithlin, what does any of this have to do with extremist propaganda? Well, it actually has a lot to do with modern extremist propaganda. You see, through these websites that are collecting your data and using your digital footprint, it is making you more vulnerable to targeted attacks. If you go on TikTok and you start liking a bunch of videos that, let's say, are right-wing leaning, you are going to be tunneled down a very extreme and narrow path. That is all the content you will see. This is especially bad with websites such as Reddit, 4chan, TikTok, very specific websites that are known to push content based off of your data. In these websites, specifically 4chan and Reddit, you can access the web anonymously, which makes you just that much more vulnerable to an extremist attack. Now that we have a brief understanding of the internet and the way it works, and what extremist propaganda in the modern era looks like, we can begin to work on how we can protect ourselves from these attacks. After a talk with Brett Gary from NYU, we discussed propaganda and extremism on social media. Through these talks, we decided that the biggest thing that we can do to protect ourselves online is to begin using our media literacy. If you're unfamiliar, media literacy basically means the act of having a deeper understanding and reading more into the things that you see online. This makes you less susceptible to being pushed misinformation. Or even if you're given misinformation, it makes you more willing to dig deeper into these concepts instead of taking it at face value. This has become a problem, especially with huge platforms such as TikTok, because no one checks these sites. This is not like past journalism and even modern day journalism. There is no fact checking. There is no one to watch this 14-year-old girl's TikTok on anti-Semitism and say, hey, that's not really accurate, because they don't have editors. There is no in-between man. This is one person's words going out to billions. That is why it is important to understand that your media literacy is the biggest power that you have in this day and age. And I hope that this video and that concept will help you fight the problem that is extremist propaganda.